Well, welcome to Papa Bear's Peppers, and I'm Harold, and today I want to go over something, and I know it's early in the season, but I want to go over my seedling mix. Now, this mix is something that I do. It's my personal mix, but I want to show it to you because I've had really good success rates with it. I have very good germination rates with it, and the growth after, once they start up, is really good. Beside a narrow garden, beside other soils, it just does well, and it's really a combination of just a few things: a peat sphagnum, a really good worm castings, my own worm castings, and also some of my perlite and vermiculite mix. And lastly, I like to use my cocoa coir in there just to help things along. So I'm going to take on out there and let's go ahead and put the mix together. All right, as you can see back here, I got my worm bins right back here, and this is in the back of the house. And so I've got 3 bins here, plus the larger one over there. And this is where I do all my worm castings. I have 3 bins that look pretty much like that, and I pull from there when I want my worm castings. And really all this is in here is cocoa coir, peat sphagnum, and paper. It's really all I feed them, and wetted paper, and then I feed them my food scraps. So that's all that goes into there. So I keep it quite a clean mix when I'm doing my worm castings, and this is what you'll see when I pull my worm castings. It's a very clean mix, and this is what I'm going to start my base with for my seed starting mix, is a worm casting. This is peat sphagnum. Now this particular one is a sunshine mix, and it's a peat sphagnum, and I'm just going to bring it in, and I'm pretty much going 50-50 on the peat sphagnum and the worm castings. Gonna mix that in really well. A little bit more. So I have a pretty dry mix right now once the worm castings and the peat sphagnum mix together. It's very loomy. Take out any little chunks of wood that I see, and I blend this up really well. And like if I'm seeing it right now that it's just not quite what I want, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more peat sphagnum to it. And this is the mix I've been using this year, and it's been working really well. I'm getting a really good result. Well, as you can see by this seedling mix inside my grow tent here, I'm getting very good germination rates. Now the ones on the left are still yet to germinate. Those are my Hawaiian habaneros. I put those in a little late. But the rest of them, as you can see, I'm getting very good germination. Everything's popping up. So good results, as you can see in there. In the seeds that I've been starting with, I've been experimenting a little bit because I wanted to make sure that the blend I show you is really a very positive growth. So what I have now is a pretty good mix of the peat sphagnum and the worm castings. Okay, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to bring you over here. I'm going to add my vermiculite and my perlite to this. Now I'm a big fan of vermiculite because it holds moisture, and when you're doing seed starting, you need that extra moisture to stay in there around the seeds. All right, now what do I use for vermiculite? I like to use the Thermal Rock vermiculite. This is my go-to. I get it in big bags because I use a lot of vermiculite. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring in some handfuls of my vermiculite. There's 1, there's 2, 3, 4 handfuls, and this is really going to be to what your liking is. But what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to achieve is this very loomy, breathing seed starting mix. And I really do like having vermiculite in there. This may not be your preference, but it sure is mine. It works really well for me. I like to make sure I've got a lot of it in there. Now, you may say, why vermiculite, why not perlite? Well, vermiculite doesn't break down, and vermiculite will absorb and hold moisture to keep those seeds from drying out. Now, so you can see I've got quite a bit of vermiculite in there. Now I'm going to bring in some perlite. We're going to have a little bit of the best of both worlds in here. Like I said, I want it to drain well. I want to have it nice and loomy. And really, truthfully, you could use vermiculite by itself and it would actually work as a lot of people do that for a seed starting medium. And I'm going to stir it together all really good. Now that was a lot of my worm castings. And I'm telling you folks, my worm castings, they don't sit on the ground. They never do. They stay elevated. So I'm keeping bugs as much as I can out of it. I want to keep my worm castings clean. Now, if you can't make your worm castings, you can obviously go to the store and buy it. And there's some brands out there that you can get that are better than others. At least with my worm castings, I know what's going into them. So I'm using equal parts of my sphagnum peat moss, a Canadian sphagnum peat moss, and then I come in with my worm castings in equal parts. Now, the vermiculite and the perlite, I like it to be, as you can see there, this is already moist from my worm castings, but I like to have a lot of my vermiculite and my perlite mixed into the soil for good drainage. And once you get all that together, now the last thing that I'm going to add to my mix, and you can see here it's looking really good. This is called Just Core. Let me see if I can get that. Just Core contains core fiber and holds the water longer. And this is the last thing that I like to use, and you can see in here that's a real beautiful mix in here. And I'm just going to take this and add it right into the mix. And really it's going to be an equal part of what I've already done with my worm castings and my peat sphagnum. So I'm mixing that into there, and as you can see, it doesn't change the consistency really. It's just more of a moisture holding product of anything, and it'll help keep that thing from drying out quite as quickly. Core is also very good at helping you maintain your pH on your soils too. That's my seed starting mix, and that's ready to go ahead and start planting my seedlings for the year. Now, one thing I do like to do is warm it up. So what I'm going to do is put a cover over it, and I'm going to take it inside and let it get up to room temperature. Because folks, you're ready to plant. You go up there and you fill your trays, and this right here, my seed starting mix that I've been using, has been very productive. I'm getting really good germination rates. They're growing well with the worm castings. It's extremely organic. Now there's one thing I'm going to add that I like to add here, and it's just to help bring in my bicarbonates, and that's called calpril. Calpril is really a lime rock, and I just use one handful, and I'm going to bring that in and mix it in really well. What that's going to do is bring some of those calcium bicarbonates in through the water, and that's what plants will actually feed on, even these young babies like this, and it helps to neutralize the pH just a little bit. So there you go, folks. There's my mix. Folks, you use this mix and I promise you, you're gonna get some good germination rates. All those of us out there will tell you a good compost, a good worm casting mix like this is exactly what it takes to really get a good grow. When I'm starting inside, I want something that's as clean as I can get it to prevent bugs from coming in. Well, hopefully this helps you, because I don't know about everybody, but I like to start a little early with my seedlings, and it's time to start it all over again, folks, and get those seedlings going. And this is the way to do it, folks. All right, well, this is Harold with Papa Bear's Peppers, making that seed starting mix. Have a great day and keep growing.